Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Frentiades. I'm the Chief Economist here at XM.com, and this is your European Open briefing for Monday, December 4th. These are the key points you should know about today. The US dollar has strengthened as a tax reform package made it through the US Senate. The dollar again subsequently breached 113. That's a 2-week high for the dollar. The pound is consolidating its gains versus the euro. However, it dropped versus the dollar as traders are waiting for possible progress on the Brexit talks. The loonie has gained after positive employment and GDP data on Friday. And for the day ahead, we have to watch UK construction PMI, the EUROGroup meeting of finance ministers, and US factory orders. On to the main news. The US Senate approved its own versions of the tax cuts. This was achieved late on Friday. The Senate's version will now have to be reconciled with the House of Representatives versions. However, there is optimism that this will get done by year end. Some differences between the two versions that need to be ironed out before a bill goes to President Trump's office to be signed. Now, the tax cuts are worth about $1.5 trillion. However, their impact is gradual. It's not going to be a one-year affair. So these are quite a substantial stimulus. So when you are getting stimulus, what happens? The economy gets stronger. And the US dollar-yen hit its highest since November 17th. So that's about 2 weeks ago. This is 2.5 weeks ago rather, above 113. Why did this happen? Now, the 2-year Treasury yields rose above 1.8%. Now, these are an indication of short-term interest rates. Tax cuts with unemployment around 4% could lead to more inflation and therefore more rate hikes. So market is pricing in some additional monetary tightening. Now, the US dollar's gains were held back by revelations that former Trump advisor Michael Flynn has pleaded guilty to the FBI with respect to lying about the investigation of the links between the Trump campaign and Russia. So that didn't really let the dollar rise as much on this positive news, although we are seeing that it was a substantial gain. On to the pound. Euro versus pound is near a 1-month low. This means a stronger pound because of Brexit optimism. Because the US dollar has its own reasons for strengthening these days, I think the euro pound is a little bit of a better gauge. We haven't seen as many news about the euro lately, so maybe it's a more stable yardstick to measure the pound against. So euro pound stays around the 1-month low, possibly eyeing 4-month lows, which are not much lower than here. Now, there are reports that the bill issue, what Britain has to pay, the divorce bill, sort of to speak, has been more or less settled. Now the focus is on the Irish border issue, another thorny issue. So if we have more progress on that, the 3 prerequisites for the EU are to pass the stages of pass on to trade negotiations, are rights of EU citizens residing in the UK, the bill, the Brexit divorce bill, and the Irish border issue. So if we get good progress on that, maybe we are going to see talks about trade. Markets will be focusing on a meeting between Prime Minister Theresa May and Jean-Claude Juncker, the European Commission President. Any positive comments from that meeting are going to lead to probably more gains by the pound. We remember that May and UK have had some disastrous meetings in the past with respect to Brexit. So if we get a good meeting now, on the back of this development, on this progress, it could propel the pound higher. Now, on to the loonie, which managed to post strong gains versus the US dollar. What happened there? Strong Canadian employment. The US dollar versus the Canadian dollar dropped to 127 level from about 128.85 before the numbers. That's about a 1% drop in the US dollar, or a 1% strength, more than 1% strengthening in the Canadian dollar. Basically, unemployment posted a steep drop to 5.9% in November from 6.3%, and the number of jobs rose by a substantial 79,500. So you can see the number of jobs, the yellow line, rising quite fast, whereas the unemployment falling is a purple line, falling to 5.9. So we are definitely going to watch the Bank of Canada's reaction on Wednesday. What should we be watching for the week ahead? Well, tomorrow we have the outcome of the Reserve Bank of Australia meeting. I will talk about the economy and rates. Of course, no change expected, but always a statement is important. We are going to have China and UK services PMIs. On Wednesday, we are going to have the Bank of Canada meeting that we already talked about. And on Friday, US employment report for November, the highlight of the week. On to today's numbers, we have UK construction PMI expected to improve a bit from the previous month. Eurozone Centix Investor Sentiment Index, quite strong numbers out of the Eurozone recently. Eurozone producer prices, and then factory orders out of the US for October. We also have two events in Brussels, the May Juncker meeting, as well as the Eurogroup meeting of finance ministers. They will be talking about Greece, as well as the issue of possibly of electing a new Eurogroup chairperson to replace the Dutchman Dijsselbloem. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.